All right, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we are here with another edition of Show Thyself a Man. I am your host, Amiri Israel, and I have a special guest with me, Brother Willie Muhammad. What mosque? What number of mosque? 47, is it?
Muhammad Mosque number 46, New Orleans, Louisiana.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And it is a great honor of mine because I've definitely followed this brother's work, and he's a advocate for peace in the community of New Orleans, Louisiana, and we all know the story. I mean, what's going on in New Orleans, but this brother has been standing up and been a presence, and not necessarily a force, but a force in this city for a very long time. And I'm
Praise be to
very,
God.
very honored to have you on, dear brother.
Man, I'm thankful for the invite, brother, and I'm thankful for the discussion that you're having. And I would imagine I can tell that you're interviewing other brothers about this same thing, and it's so needed, man.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. And that's what Show Thyself a Man is all about. Just not only talking about it, but showing thyself a man and letting this be a piece of reference, you know what I'm saying, to brothers that's coming up without examples and without who just trying to figure it out. Shit, sometimes I'm still trying to figure it out. You know what I'm saying?
All of us, brother.
Yeah. So we, iron sharpens iron. We feeding each other on these interviews as well. So without further ado, man, just give us a little bit of your background. Tell us who you are, where you're from, so forth, so on.
So of course, a New Orleans native. Born in uptown New Orleans, what is known as, in the city, they call it a historical aspect, the Irish Channel. But for people who are in that area, I live right between the 10th Ward and the 12th Ward, right?
Yeah.
I attended Live Oak Middle, man, and went on to Walter L. Cohen, because some people meet me. And a funny experience I used to have when I was in college at Xavier University, people would be like, what school you went to? And they thought I went to St. Aug, 35. When I would tell them Walter L. Cohen, their eyes would jump, And, Walter L. Cohen was not,
come out of Cohen, though.
Yeah, man. Walter L. Cohen was not known as an academic powerhouse. But I tell you, brother, I would not go back and change my educational experience there, because it really taught me, it really helped me to understand that you don't judge a book by its cover. I knew people who had a mouth full of gold teeth, man, but were very smart, right? Yeah. So from there, I went on to Xavier, accepted the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad my freshman year in college. And since then, I've been trying to walk this path of Islam to the best of my ability, man. And I'm still learning, I have my ups and downs, but that's where I am.
Yes, sir. And we all do, we all do. Fall 7 times, keep getting up. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's the Bible.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, man. And going back to the topic of, so I consider myself a St. Aug graduate, but it was a strange turn of events happened. My last year, I really didn't graduate from St. Augustine. I wound up graduating from Forshade.
Okay.
And yeah, that was a big culture shock.
A big shift, man.
But it's my district school. I grew up in Holly Grove, you know what I'm saying? So I knew what it was about. It was a culture shock for us school-wise, you know what I'm saying? The public school system as opposed to private school. And but just like you said, man, I wouldn't change a thing, because I was able to see both sides of the pie. I was able to see somewhat of the injustices that public school students are plagued with. It's not always to blame with the students. I mean, I'm in there. We got notebooks. You know what I'm saying? I'm asking guys where the lockers were. They laughing at me like, lockers, stuff like that, like little stuff that privileges that some people have and others don't. They make a huge difference. So yeah, I get that, man. But there was some brilliant minds in there, bro. It's like maybe not by the book, but people in there, creatives and people just doing stuff, you know what I'm saying, that'll blow your mind, other than the grades they were making, the grades they were making. So yeah, man, I get that.
The Forshade.
Forshade. We know the story. We see how that's going right now, but that's for another topic. But yeah, man. So this part of the show, very beginning of the show, is what I, how we known for introducing and what we call icebreakers. Well, I call this a glacier breaker.
Yeah.
Every time I interview brothers, I hit them with a bang right out the gate. So it's like a glacier breaker. You know what I'm saying? So how would you define manhood? What is
Man,
your
that
definition?
that is all of the questions you sent are great, and it really had me thinking. Of course, your first response, your people first reaction. Let me go to the dictionary, and I looked at it and it says a state of being a man or qualities associated with. And I'm like, nah. But when I think about manhood, I would have to say first, it has to be you have to be a man, and I want to stress that because the world in which we live in, they're flipping things, right?
Yeah.
I also look at the word manhood, and you have the word hood. Hood is a covering of head. So a part of manhood to me is being knowledgeable, right? And also having what the Most High Elijah Muhammad in the Honorable Minister Lord's Farrakhan described as a knowledge of self. And when I say a knowledge of self, that means that we have a thorough knowledge of our strengths and even our weaknesses, right?
Right.
And when we have that knowledge of our strengths and our weaknesses, it helps to breed security because I know what I'm good at, I know what I suck at, and I know where I'm all right at. And so when I'm comfortable in that, because all of that is the ingredients that go into making this meal in which I am. So manhood would have to include knowledge. You have to be knowledgeable, a provider, and a protector of what God has placed us over, right? And I would also say this: one cannot be considered to have manhood or even be a man if he lacks a proper understanding of the value and the importance of the woman. So those are some of the things that come to mind in regards, because you can't be talking like you. How can we have a negative view of women when we as males come out of the womb of a woman? So that's important, That's very important.
Right. And in a lot of these interviews, I'm so pleased and I'm so grateful that I'm getting those type of responses in regards to women. You know what I'm saying? And women definitely not getting a fair trial in society today. But those of us who know. You know what I'm saying? Those of us who care know. And you, just like you say, knowledge of self, you can't filter through yourself without getting some type of understanding of femininity. You know what I'm saying? Women in general. A lot of brothers I interview learn from women. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's big, man. I appreciate that answer because that topic has to be had. You know what I'm saying? As far as manhood too, it's not just about macho stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's about,
not at all, man.
Because a lot of our women are being disrespected because most men we're not protecting and not standing up for them. So that leaves a question mark on masculinity or manhood within itself.
That's it. Man, because you gotta, as you were talking, it just made me think about how we are the final product of a man and a woman coming together.
Right.
So to disrespect, and even the Bible says that, like, I'm paraphrasing in the after the Gospels, that like a man who disrespects his woman is also like disrespecting himself.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, but it talks about that.
Yeah. Most certainly. So growing up, who's had a major or one of the or some of the greatest impacts on your life growing up as a young man?
That question right there, brother, is the story of that really connects to the thing that I experienced in my life that transformed my life. It's a very great question. And I thought about it when you said who had the greatest, I had to think about who had the greatest proper, because prior to the proper, I'll tell you my story. I grew up in uptown New Orleans. My mother is the mother of 3 sons, right? I'm the oldest.
Yes,
my
sir.
father left my mother when I was just entering into teenage years. So my mother had to raise us in the hood by herself, right? So I remember my uncle, who I have great love for, who was one of the role models in my life. I remember him coming to me saying, Byron, that's my middle name, you have to be a man now. I didn't know what a man was, but I was always observing. So I said, I'm going to watch television. I'm going to listen to rap music, and I'm going to look at the males in my environment.
Yeah.
So, and you know where I ended up with that.
Mm-hmm.
Rap music at that time, and even now, doesn't give you a real idea of manhood. The brothers that were in my neighborhood, my family, it was like the blind leading blind. These males were saying that you're a man because of how many females you sleep with, how much money you have in your pocket, and your reputation of not taking no BS in the neighborhood. Then when I looked at that, when I looked at TV, I saw much of the same.
Yeah.
James Bond, all of the men who considered to be men, they had a numerous amount of women. Mm-hmm. They dress nice. So for a period of time, I chased that.
Yeah.
And I chased that, and I kept getting accolades for chasing this false understanding of manhood. So it encouraged me to do it more.
Yes, sir.
But I remember there was a movie came out, brother, called, I don't know if you ever saw it, Indecent Proposal.
I've heard about it, never saw it.
Watch it, especially with the work that you're doing. So this is where Woody Harrelson, this millionaire had offered Woody Harrelson $1 million to sleep with his wife.
Yeah.
And I remember myself and some brothers who I grew up with, we sitting on the corner talking about that. We were so crazy. I don't even think we were even actually saying $1 million. We were probably saying like for $5,000 or whatever.
Right.
But in my spirit, I couldn't explain it. Why? I just didn't feel right with that conversation.
Right.
So I couldn't really articulate it and not come out looking like some simp amongst the fellas.
Yeah.
One night, brother, I'm at home, brother Mari, flipping through cable. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was speaking at Southern in New Orleans. And the minister said, he mentioned the movie Indecent Proposal. And it caught my attention. He said, I wish a man would ask me to sleep with my wife for any amount of money. He said he'll be picking his teeth up from off the floor. And brother, when I saw that, when I heard that, immediately the thought in my mind was, that is a man. And it began process of transforming my thoughts. So now I had somebody to look at to give me an idea of manhood. So the greatest impact on me growing to manhood has been and is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Oh yeah, no doubt. That brother, that's powerful, man. And so yeah, that was big right there. And you know, it went against your soul, but that was heaven sent, man, because
it was.
Because for him to be mentioned in the same movie that y'all were just discussing, and to have the reverse effect on your spirit, like, yep, let me listen to some more of this. So that's big,
you're right. Heaven sent, man.
That's big. That's big. So, and that's one thing I can appreciate about Nation Islam, Minister Farrakhan, is y'all make known that we're gonna protect this Black woman. What's your thoughts on us protecting the Black?
In the back of the Final Call newspaper, which I had one of the points of what the Muslims want is that we believe in the protection of our woman, right? Mm-hmm. That's a core principle of our belief. Protection of our women. Now, we also say that you can't protect what you can't control. And, some women hear that word control and I don't need nobody controlling me. But as a parent, if I tell my child, you can play outside, but don't go outside of these confinements. Mm-hmm. They begin to start going outside of that, I can't protect you. You see what I'm saying? But, but we do believe that it is our job as men to be able to protect our women. And our women also have a responsibility as well, that you don't take that obligation and put your man in harm's way as well,
Right. Most certainly. What has been one of the most important lessons that you've learned?
Listen, man, these questions, brother, man, it's so, I was like, man, like I'm gonna go do this one that in manhood has taught me that life is hard and it has its shares of difficulty. Now, life is beautiful too, but one of the things I wish I would have learned early, brother, is that just because something is difficult doesn't mean that you need to run from it.
Yeah.
Just because something is difficult doesn't mean that God hasn't equipped you to be able to overcome that difficulty. Right, a lot of times that difficulty that exists in life is God's way of creating. It's like a gym. He's created an environment so we can find him inside of us. So we can use that ability to say, be and it is, right? So one of the things I've learned in manhood is that life is difficult, but God has already equipped us to be able to face and overcome the difficulty. Another thing, we talked about this earlier, and you quoted that scripture. I think I read that in Proverbs or Psalms before, and it said you get knocked down 7 times. The other one is, knocked down doesn't mean being knocked out.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes we take a L, and some people just give up. They take a couple of L's, they drinking for the rest of their life, they snorting for the rest of their life, they doing whatever. But as I thought about it, there are very few athletes, athletic teams that have not lost one game. You know, we got Floyd Mayweather and Rocky Marciano, but that's their professional. But they have lost before. They lost. Floyd Mayweather lost in the Olympics, right? So I say that to say you can still be a champion and still have a strike in the loss column. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I learned. Like, we're gonna take our L's, but get back up and learn the lesson. And I also, another lesson, believe in yourself. You know, I tell people, we got a lot of people they say, I ain't no atheist. They look down on atheists, but some of us are atheists of self. That we don't believe in a God in ourselves, right? So that's a lesson. The ability to forgive ourselves. Because sometimes we take our narrow view of forgiveness and we put it on God. And thinking that God is sitting somewhere saying, I ain't gonna forgive him. And that's not God's spirit. I've come to understand that the decisions that we make shape the path that we're gonna walk down in life. So be very careful about the decisions that we make. And going back to the original principle is to really know ourselves. And this is so important because the more we know about ourselves, the better we are in picking a mate, the better we are in picking a career, the better we are in knowing what we want out of life, the better we are in knowing where we fit. But when we don't know ourselves, we don't know that. And then the last one, this is key too, let me fix this, is to heal and learn from the past, brother. Yeah. That's one of, like, I remember, man, my first heartbreak in a relationship. Boy, you feel like the world is coming to the end. You know? But what I realized, that's a part of growing into manhood. Yeah. To be able to experience that pain, but not give up on love. So those are some of the ones. Man, these are some great questions, brother.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, man. And these are all, you know, coming from within. You know what I'm saying? This I even started this platform and this brand because of this is what, you know, interests me or what I needed coming up as a young man. So, and this is why I want to share it with other brothers that, once again, they need the reference from this, from, you know, other grown men that been through life, that did life, you know what I'm saying, and have the answers.
Yeah, man, because we don't have to keep making the same mistakes. We can learn from others' experiences, man. But this is needed, brother.
Yes, sir. And this is why we make the mistakes. And as far as falling down, you know, a wise man once told me, if you fall down, that means you have to see the world from ground level for a minute. You know what I'm saying? You when you're down, take a minute to look around. You know what I'm saying? For you, because we could get back up too fast sometimes. Regain yourself while you're down. You know what I'm saying? Look around, see the world from ground level, gather yourself, take your time, get back up. You know what I'm saying? Get back up fortified. So yeah, bro. So that's you know, that's all. Mistakes is how we get to teach the generation next to us. So
yeah, man.
Yeah, that's man.
Yeah, that's true.
So are you married there, brother?
Yes, sir. 21 years, God willing, man. Striving to make 22 years, man.
Man, congratulations, man.
Thank you, my brother.
Been doing it for 10, so
yeah. You know,
and every crossing the threshold.
is a constant work, brother. I heard somebody say marriage is like, they said if you saw somebody driving a car and they took their hands off the steering wheel and they wrecked that car, you wouldn't be surprised. We wouldn't be surprised. You're like, yo, you took your hand off the steering wheel. And they said that's the same thing with marriage. So marriage is something we got to constantly keep our hands on the steering wheel and constantly cultivate it and work it. And I'm realizing that we have to leave some area in our minds that the person that we are married to in the 10th year, the 15th year, or the 19th year is not the same person in the first year. So we got to keep that like, yo, they're growing. And okay, this is how do I make that adjustment? You know?
Yeah, man. And woo,
man.
That's a smooth analogy. Keep your hand on the steering wheel.
Yeah, man.
And even like with anything, maintenance and everything, keep that oil change, keep them tires, keep the car washed.
It's interesting that you use that, because I did a lecture on marriage and I used an analogy of this. There's this Caucasian man that has he had a car that maybe was like in the 60s or something, but he still has it now. It has like 300,000 miles. But what he talks about is how he maintains it. He said, one, he followed the owner's manual. He keeps it serviced. He makes sure he handles it right. He doesn't make sure how he carefully drives it. And it made me think about, why don't we do the same with our marriages? The manual for us is the word of God, be able to say the Quran, the Bible, whatever it may be. But then how do we handle it? And that's what we got to do. We got to stay up on it. And oftentimes we stop doing that, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then, I've interviewed brothers in various walks of life, and so I believe in the Bible, of course. But I often say, man, in order to make marriage work, you got to have a glue. You got to have a foundation to keep it together, because sometimes what I say ain't right. Sometimes what you say might not necessarily be right, but we have something to come back to. You know what I'm saying? Like the manual you was talking about, the word of God is always the glue. So that's important for marriage. You got to have that. If you don't have that, that's why we see so many divorces and so many, misunderstandings and all that, because there's no glue, there's no nucleus. So that's very important, man. Very important. So whatever faith you're in, man, you have that manual on deck, But yeah, man. You have any kids, there, brother?
Yeah, I have 2 daughters, man. One of my daughters is a freshman in college, and the other one is, she graduates from high school, God willing, on next year.
And you look so young, man. You look like you just getting out of college, man. What's going on?
Listen, I try to. Well, in the Nation of Islam, we have the dietary law, how to eat to live. So certain foods we don't eat, and we practice fasting. And then in addition to that, brother Amiri, I pronounced it right, Amiri, right?
Amiri.
And then in addition to that, man, my nephew, his name is Amir, man, my nephew. But in addition to that, I try not to get caught up on stressing on stuff, man. I try to enjoy life, brother.
Yeah.
Enjoy life, man.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on, I know this a little broad, this kind of broad, but brotherhood, and you could categorize it in different aspects.
I think, brotherhood is a covering, you think about, I keep hearing the word hood, and hood is a covering. So, in the Bible, it says, that's how we know we've transitioned from death into life, based upon the love of the brotherhood. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what it is. And we have to, as men, especially as Black men, work to form a real brotherhood, where when things, like I have brothers that when I go through some stuff, I can call them and they're going to tell me what the real is. And we have to begin to start doing that. You know what I'm saying? Where we can begin to have these brothers. And that's one, when you look at I'm not a member of a fraternity, but when you look at brothers who are a member of a fraternity, you see them have relationships with their line brothers all the way to the time they leave this earth. And one of the reasons why is because they caught hell together.
Yeah.
And it formed a brotherhood.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that brotherhood bond them together. So that's the thing. Brotherhood is important, man, because none of us are independent. We need each other.
Yeah. And that's where we could roll right into that too. Accountability and community as brothers and as men. You know what I'm saying? We can't do it, alone, of course. And that's once again, that's what this platform is for, and a lot of work that you all do, especially yourself, man, is so I remember I was at the mosque for a meeting one time, and then you made sure that you introduced all the brothers with their businesses or whatever that's working out, and not only just holding each other accountable, but giving each other our accolades too. Is like, we see you, bro. We see you doing your thing. You know what I'm saying? I
We
definitely
need it, man.
appreciate that.
Brother, we need it, man, because accountability, I thought about when I was reflecting over the questions, we're only as strong as the weakest link. And as you you mentioned earlier, you said how steel sharpens steels, and our brotherhood has to be rooted in love.
Yeah.
Not so much out of a judgmental mindset, because we all in this thing together. And sometimes we're going to be up, sometimes we got to be down, but let's motivate one another in love, because in the end, we all should want to see us get to the finish line.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, that's so all that pure gems, man. Pure gems.
Praise be to God, man.
Yeah. What would you tell your younger self growing up? What advice
that was, brother. That was a good question, because very good questions, man. Brother, one of the things I would tell my younger self is don't allow your own fears and even the fears of others to limit me. Because I look back at my life, there are some things that I didn't try because of fears. Some things that I didn't try because maybe I didn't view myself properly to believe that I can get that done. And when I look back at it, or I didn't do things because of somebody else's fear they were projecting on me, be it from your parents, your girlfriend at that time, your friends. But when I look back at it, I realized that I was capable to be able to do that stuff. And what I thought was the fear that I have, and I look back at it like, man, that wasn't nothing for me to overcome and do. So that's one of the things that I would tell my younger self.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, I think that wraps it up for us, dear brother.
I appreciate it, man.
Once again,
brother, let me tell you something. What you are doing is so key, because it's this in the area where we have all this violence, it's rooted around an improper understanding of what manhood is.
Yeah.
That's at the root of it. It's an improper understanding. I'll tell you this before we close. If I find them, send it to you. You may know this already. There were these African elephants, brother, that were, in particular, the young male elephants, were stampeding, and when people was on savannas, they were just crushing the cars, raping rhinos. They were wilding out. And they didn't understand why these young male elephants were doing this. So when they began to start studying, they found out like how the elephant tribe their family structure is closer to the family structure of human beings: a mother, father, uncle, auntie, children, and they all together. Their memory is so good that they go back every year to where they buried a loved one at, and they mourn. But these Europeans were coming from Europe, paying Africans to kill these elephants to cut their tusks. And they were doing it for the male elephants. So when they disrupted the family structure, killed the father male elephant, the young boys went buck wild. And guess how they fixed it? They took the young male elephants and put them on a reservation that had other older male elephants. And when they did that, the behavior stopped.
Yo.
The behavior. I'm gonna send that to you. The behavior.
Yeah, man. Stopped. Send that, man. Send that. Yo, and that's real, man. That's real. And I'm working on some stuff around that too. So be looking out for you. I'm sure you'll be a benefit to it. And I'll send you the details.
Man, whatever you need, brother, I'm here to help you out, man. You got my service, man. Keep doing what you're doing, man. It was an honor, and this was therapeutic for me too, brother.
Likewise, man. It's that, and that's the main thing too, is we get on here and discuss matters, discussion before action, and yeah, it's therapeutic, and all of us need therapy, especially if you're Black in America. You need some kind of
all of us, bro.
So man, once again, man, I appreciate you, dear brother. What's your handles, man, for the people?
On Instagram, I'm brother BROTHER _ Willie WILLIE. Facebook, Willie Muhammad. I guess they would type in Willie Muhammad New Orleans. What are we on YouTube? They can go to our Mosque pages, Mosque MOSQUE 46AV. They check out some of the videos that we have and things like that. So that's where they can find me, man.
Most certainly, most certainly. Well, it was of the utmost pleasure, man. And it always is always a pleasure, man. You, like I said in the beginning, you do a wonderful work here in the city.
Praise God, man.
Hopefully people, well, I know I don't, hopefully ain't the word, people gonna get some from this interview, man. And that's what it's for. And I appreciate you sharing your advice and wisdom and your time.
Yes, sir. I thank you for the invite, man. May God continue to bless you.
Yes, sir.